Dr. John Opperman has become the interim president of Texas Tech University for the next several months as a replacement is sought for Dwayne Nellis. And Dr. Opperman is with us this evening. Glad to have you, sir. Thanks for inviting us to your house.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Let's talk a little bit about this position compared to being Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. I think a lot of people don't understand how the system works at Texas Tech. This is not too far off the beaten path for you because you worked with presidents of these universities in your position as the Vice Chancellor.
Correct, yeah. The system, of course, is made up of 4 institutions: Texas Tech University, Texas Tech University Health Science Center here in Lubbock, Angelo State University in San Angelo, and then, of course, the newest addition, Texas Tech Health Science Center in El Paso. So as Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, it's really working with the presidents and the provost primarily of all 4 of those institutions on any matters related to academics, obviously, but I was also headed up strategic planning as well.
Dr. Nellis certainly had an agenda that he was trying to follow. Is this a good time for you to come in and say, okay, we are just going to follow the agenda that's in place, or the marching orders, so to speak, or do you want to try to make some changes during the time that you will be in this role?
Well, there is a strategic plan in place that the board adopted last year about this time, in February of last year. And so we are still operating under that strategic plan that Dr. Nellis was using as well. Our next strategic planning meeting is in late February, so that'll be an opportunity for me to go into a meeting with the board and discuss any new directions that may be warranted at that time. Right now, this is still my first week on the job. I think I'm still working through with staff and the academic leaders of the campus on what changes may be needed, if any. That's something we're just working through right now.
You talked earlier in your press conference that enrollment, retention, research, budget, right, which is pretty much what your job entails. There are no great secrets that you let out of the bag there when you talked about that. Right. How do you continue down that path? I mean, I don't want to be rude. I mean, is this pretty much, okay, I'm here just to occupy the seat, or do you come in and say, hey, I'm going to push the ball forward and try to be an agent for change?
I'll be an agent for change to the extent that within that strategic plan, there are many different pathways you can take to get to where you want to get to. For instance, on enrollment, we have set a goal for growing to 40,000. I think after last year and this year's experience with our entering freshmen, we know we're going to get to 40,000. And whether it's 2020 or 2019 or 2021 is less important now. I think we know we're in a position now where being strategic about the enrollment growth is more important. So there are initiatives that we need to look at to grow our enrollment strategically, in the sense that we want to improve the quality of the student body, but we also want to improve diversity. And there is a balancing act there, and of course we're a public university, so we feel like we have an obligation to educate as many students as we feel like we can within the infrastructure that we have. So there's many different decisions underneath those plans that I'll be weighing in on and hopefully making a difference.
Earlier this week, the chancellor was in Austin with other chancellors from state universities talking about how we're going to implement this concealed carry and open carry legislation on Texas Tech's campus, the University of Texas campus, the University of Houston. What role will you play? Because this is going to be in your bailiwick during the time that you're here when this decision will be made.
Well, the law makes it clear that it's the president that makes the recommendations on implementation of campus carry and what the rules will be for the campus. So certainly if those, depending on the timing of when those rules are submitted and considered by the board, it may very well be during the time that I'm president, in which case I will make those recommendations. But of course there is a task force that's been working on the campus to develop recommendations to the president. And those recommendations will be coming to me as soon as they're done with those. And I will obviously give great weight to what the task force has done.
And what's in the back of your mind as far as what your opinion is on this issue?
It's the law, so I'm not sure that it matters what the opinion is. I think the thing to keep in mind, though, is that of all the things that I think university leaders need to be doing to make their institution a better institution and do a better job of meeting state goals, campus carries pretty far down that list. There are many more things important. I think we just need to address this, move on. My guess, based on the Senate hearing earlier this week, it sounds like the legislature themselves are already starting to think about possible changes to the law because there are some things open to interpretation. So we could be redoing some of this next year regardless of what the recommendations are right now.
Another task force was dealing with Greek life issues. Will you have any input on that, or are you basically satisfied with where that's going and going to say this will let it follow the normal course?
Well, my understanding is that the recommendations have been made by that task force, and many of them are already being implemented. There is an education process working with each of the Greek organizations to make sure that everybody understands what those recommendations are and how they're going to be implemented. There are some that are phased in over time, but my understanding is that it sounds like everything is proceeding as the task force intended, and my role will just be to monitor and make sure that it's abided by.
You have this wonderful background, wide experiences. Why not be considered for this in a permanent sense? Why not be the permanent president of Texas Tech? I think the fact that I'm here is due to a fairly unique set of circumstances. As we mentioned, we were talking a minute ago about being in the right place at the right time. You know, the board wanted to go this way. I think they wanted to do an internal search. They wanted to turn things over to a search committee to let them decide how best to proceed and whether to go to a national search. And in the meantime, I think they wanted someone in place here that would not be kind of the anointed one. So I was offered an opportunity to do that and was happy to do that. If the search committee decides to do something differently along the ways, and that may change the circumstances that I'm in, but in the meantime, I'm just going to do the job the board's asked me to do. We appreciate you being with us this evening.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here and look forward to working with Texas Tech.
For more information on Dr. Opperman and more information on the presidential search, we encourage you to check out fox34.com.